Well, hello there, juicy squishberries. Today I present to you a question. Is the furry fandom pay to play? Money makes the world go round, and many say it makes the fandom go around too. It can be really frustrating if you don't have a lot of extra income to put into the fandom, watching all these people with money buying fursuits and art and going to conventions and things like that. We're going to discuss that, and toward the end we'll talk about some ways that you can enjoy the fandom even if you don't have a whole lot of extra cash. Yeah, it's no secret the fandom can be an expensive place to exist. Fursuits are crazy expensive. A full digitigrade fursuit now is like $7,000 probably on average from a reputable maker. Even a mini partial from a good maker can be up to $2,000. Fursuits are kind of the ultimate expression of your furriness, but you don't have to have one to enjoy the fandom. Now, of course, maybe even more prevalent than fursuits, the next expensive thing is art. Everybody has or wants art of their character. If you can't draw it yourself, it might be expensive to commission an artist to do it for you. Some of the best artists in the fandom are extremely expensive, charging over $1,000 for one piece. If you don't have the money to afford art, it can be super frustrating to go on social media and look at all these other people posting these beautiful art pieces they've gotten. You might feel like there's nothing you can do to get some of your own. Now, another big part of the furry fandom that is not cheap are furry conventions. Yeah, these don't happen at the Motel 6 or in the park. Your local fur meet might happen in the park, and that's free. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But the big conventions, even the small conventions, tend to be in nice hotels and convention centers, and they're not cheap. They can be anywhere from $150 to well over $200 a night for a room. Unless you want to squish like 9 people in there, yeah, it's going to cost you a few $100 to stay at a convention all 4 nights. Food is going to be more expensive too, and good luck walking through the dealer's den and the artist's alley without wanting to buy stuff there too. If you're a part of this wonderful little fandom and you don't have a whole lot of extra money to buy a fursuit or to buy art or to go to conventions, guess what? You're in the majority. A big frustration that comes along with not having a whole lot of money to spend in the fandom is a lack of attention on social media. People tend to focus their attention on fursuits. Unfortunately, there are a lot of super cool and talented people who just don't get attention because they don't have that high-end fursuit. That kind of sucks, but unfortunately people like to look at fursuits, I guess. They like to follow accounts with fursuits. And the more fursuity pants you are, I guess the more likes and views you're going to get. I would encourage all of you to branch out in terms of who you follow and interact with on furry social media. A lot of the most interesting people are the ones without the fancy fursuits. Honestly, some of the ones with fursuits are not that interesting at all. I've had to unfollow or mute several accounts because all they ever post is pictures of their fursuits. Now, yeah, these people have beautiful fursuits, but every other day it's just a different pose of the same fursuit. Their content doesn't really have any depth. It's just, look at me, look what I bought. So maybe, like a lot of people in the fandom nowadays, you're a little bit younger. You just don't have that discretionary income. You may have expenses related to education. You may be trying to save up for a better car. Buying a fursuit or buying art are just not really high up on the list unless you're really financially irresponsible. Don't do that. There are a lot of ways to enjoy the fandom without having a whole lot of money. So let's break down the same categories we talked about earlier. Okay, fursuits. If you really want a fursuit, they can be had somewhat, and I say somewhat, inexpensively. They're still going to cost you some money, but you might be able to get one within reason. Now, some of you may not like this idea, but I'm going to put it out there anyway because it's a good way to get your hands on a fursuit. The first thing you can do is consider buying a used suit. Now, yeah, it's not going to be your character. You're probably not going to find one that you can transform into your character, but if you really want a fursuit that bad, that may be the way to go. Fursuits are mega expensive for custom commissions, but they don't hold their value well. On the used market, even fursuits by very reputable manufacturers often don't hold much value. They can be had for $1,000 or $1,500 for a really nice fursuit. So you want a fursuit that bad? Go ahead and get a used one. TheDealersDen.com is a great place to look. You can also look for pre-mades at conventions and online if you want to get a new one, but you're going to pay for it. What about art? Well, you have several options here. Not all furry art is expensive. A lot of up-and-coming artists don't have enough confidence in their art yet to charge big prices for it. Some of them may be undervaluing their art. If you look, you can find artists on DeviantArt, Twitter, for Affinity, places like that, who may be selling really good art for $5, $10, $15, $25. You can also work on learning to draw for yourself. Now, I know that can be a daunting task, especially if you aren't blessed with inherent artistic ability. I tried to learn and I got frustrated and quit, but you don't have to, especially if you're a little bit younger. If you have the time and just not the money, use that time to your advantage. Watch some tutorials, put in the practice, and learn to draw for yourself. Then you can make your own art and you can make art for other people, and you won't have to rely so much on other people to make art for you. Sometimes if you make friends with artists, they'll just draw stuff for you. Sometimes you can find raffles. Sometimes you can find artists saying, hey, throw me a ref sheet and I'll doodle your character for free to warm up or something like that. Options are out there to get art inexpensively, so just look for them. What about conventions? Well, do you have an option to avoid staying in the hotel? That might be your best bet if you don't have a lot of money. If you don't want to cram 9 people in the hotel and risk getting kicked out, try to find a friend who lives nearby, or go to local conventions at first where you can drive every day or have somebody drop you off. I don't know, look for a campground, even look for a cheaper hotel in the vicinity of the main convention hotel to save yourself some money. If you do it right, conventions can be done pretty cheaply. Also, don't buy drinks and food at the hotel. Go shopping, go to the grocery store, get some inexpensive stuff for the room, and rely on that for food and drinks instead of paying exorbitant prices at the con hotel. Lastly, just remember you don't need money to enjoy the fandom. You can do it for free. YouTube is free. DeviantArt, Fur Affinity, Twitter, Blue Sky. You can look at as much amazing art as you want to. You can look at as many fursuits as you want to. You can watch videos of conventions that you might not have been able to go to. I know that's not as good as owning the fursuit or owning the art or going to the convention, but someday you'll get there yourself if you keep that goal in mind, keep working toward it, and keep saving up some money. So the answer to the question is yes and no, but mainly no. The furry fandom is not pay to play. Much of what you can do in the fandom is absolutely free. It's just certain things that cost a lot of money. Unfortunately, those can be the very things that you want the most. Alright, what do you think? Is the fandom pay to play? Can you enjoy it fully without spending any money or without spending a lot of money? Let me know down in the comments. A big shout out is always to our incredible patrons. It is really difficult to make regular content while working a full-time job, owning a house, and dealing with all the other stuff we have going on in our lives. The support we get from these generous people helps motivate us to keep going. We'll be heading off to Colorado next week to visit some furry friends and some family. And who knows, maybe we'll film some fursuit stuff while we're there. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Hope you got some good information, and we'll see you next time. Later.